welcome back to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We're now in our Talk of the Town segment with Kristina Liu and, of course, Otto, and where we talk about all things going on in the town when we get to it after we have our, two-segment conversation about other things. But what a wonderful guest, Dr. Pooja Shah, who is a dermatologist, professor, and also, does see patients as well. We learned a lot about her and her history, which was really very interesting, and her successes and accomplishments. I feel like a proud parent. I don't know why, but
well, it's such an inspirational story, and anyone that's watching this on video, please check out Dr. Shah's segment on skin health. You could certainly access it on our website, or you could also catch it prior to the show. But I just think that her story was so amazing on top of the information that she was given. And it's always, I just find that so many guests that we have on that actually do work in the realm of, healthcare, and especially with a specialty towards, seniors and whatnot, just how they get there. It just always seems like an interesting journey. And just when she talked about her, her parents caring for her grandparents, with Alzheimer's, and that's how she kind of got into this path. And it's just so interesting how things kind of all come together. And she was just, and, she does seem so empathetic back, like you hit the nail on the head. She's definitely a doctor that would work wonderful with seniors, because she does have that comfortability kind of and understanding of, the stress of things, and I mean, listen, I'm like a family of nervous skin problems, right? So we all have sensitive skin. It's the minute we're stressed out, there's some kind of bizarre rash that pops up somewhere. It's like a running joke in my household, because if I'm stressed, right, like I remember before my wedding, my whole chest had, broken out. My poor husband's always dealing with his skin stuff. My mom just last week, it was like, we're like an ongoing family of skin problems. So it was really,
Kristina.
But it was, I've been honest, with my mom's journey. And this was something that I think that Dr. Shah had, brought up, because, my mom, she's on all this new medication for stuff that she's going through, and she had started a new one. And last weekend, she calls me in a complete panic, because on her ankles, there were these two rashes, and she had no idea. And they almost looked like burns. And she was bugging out, thinking, oh my God, this could be from the new medication. So, and of course it's the weekend, because why would it happen when people are around,
Exactly.
So
was it the nighttime too?
Yeah. So we're running around trying to make all these phone calls, and, and luckily we got in touch with the dermatologist who was on staff with MSK, and he walked her through, my mom was very thorough, exactly when it started and all the information. We had pictures and stuff, and that really does help, because he was able to say it's just because her skin is sensitive and she's so dry, so it actually wasn't correlated to the medicine, which thank God, but it's because she's in a heightened state of stress, her skin, she has older skin. He's like, because her skin is thin, and she scratched it, because then when you were saying that, Becky, just like, because she wasn't even realizing that she was doing it. It was like, oh my God, I'm so itchy. And then it created this whole thing. And of course we ran and got like every product, known to man over the counter. But I think moisturizing, and I'm such a proponent, I'm always running around the house. I yell, my husband works out in the sun all day. I'm constantly like, it's so important to really moisture. You don't think about, everyone's like, okay, but it really makes such a difference to really set up a routine with that. So I couldn't agree more, speaking from personal experience,
Kristina,
like
you're a guru in Instagram. Dr. Shah has the Mindful Dermatologist on Instagram. I, for some reason, and I'm technically pretty good, have been able not to become a master of Instagram for some reason. I find it like Facebook, to me, there's a little more communication that actually goes on within something like Facebook as opposed to Instagram. And there's a lot of things I look at it, I try to get into it, but like the Mindful Dermatologist, the way I visualize it, it's not really a verbal outlet, it's more of a photo outlet. Are there a lot of text?
So with it, like let's say she posted a video, and showing something or some kind there. So then below, just like Facebook, are, comments. So, I could say, oh my God, Dr. Shah, great video. And then someone could reply to my comment saying, that was so helpful, so you can have a dialogue. underneath in the comment section of a photo or a video, just like you would on Facebook.
So if
Obviously,
you
it's
were
not as
looking
public forumy as Facebook. Facebook has more groups, and that it's really based on mostly toxic dialogue most of the time. But
But so you would search for the mindful
Yep. Yeah. So at
dermatologist?
the end of this video, I'm actually going to send Dan. So if you are watching the video or looking at a YouTube, at the end of this, when we have all of her contact information, I'll also add it's called an Instagram handle, so it'll say what her name is. And you would just, if you have Instagram, you would just type that in. Listen, even if you type on Google, the Mindful Dermatologist Instagram, it should bring it up to you as well, even if because she said she's got great videos there. So after the show, I'm definitely going to check that out, and I'll certainly have all that information. But it was great. And I think it's so important, and I love to have this kind of topic around this time, especially when people are spending extra time outside. But I think, what she said also, obviously, listen, when you're going outside in the summer, everyone's aware, but it's so important that throughout the year to really be, I mean, how often has it been like a nice day in like the early spring and you sat outside and we're all like, oh my God, I have sunburn, so it's really something that you need to, and I think it is great because so many, like so many of my just skin, face, moisturizers come with SPF, as you had mentioned, Beck. So it's just a great thing to just put in your repertoire of things. So
yeah, I mean, we had Springfest earlier in the month, and everybody, everybody was wearing sunscreen, which was great. But we were out there the whole day, and I didn't reapply, and I did get a little bit of a burn. I got a burn on my nose, of course. My nose is like just right out there for some reason. But yeah, it is. It doesn't.
Noses are right out
there.
It's right out there. I don't know. I feel like mine's a little bigger out there. But early May, it's still there. Winter, it's still there.
Like it'll sneak up on you and you're like, wait, well, how did that just happen? And also I've mentioned this before on the show, but there's so many great clothing products now that you could wear, because my husband has, I don't even know how many, shirts because he works outside that are like, breathable, but like, have SPF, and like, it's just such a great, because when I wash them and after he's had one for a long time, you actually see like the fading of the shirt. So you're thinking your brain, like, that's what's happening to your skin, like it blows your mind when you actually see it, in real time. And I mean, there's hats now, there's all kinds of scarfy things. And I love what they have for like little babies and little kids now, because they all of my friends' kids, have these little, like, and they could get them wet, they're not, so there's so many wonderful products out there that are just worth, doing, and they last really long. So it's just because I think that's a problem, because I always start off really well myself, Beck, and then you forget to reapply, it's like, so it's I think when you have these kind of clothing things, it takes some of the damage away.
Right.
To me, it's really still mind-boggling that all of this concern is caused by the sun that's 48 million miles away.
Right.
I know.
To me, that is mind-boggling.
I know, it's one of those things that's just like,
how does
it hurts your brain to try and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely. And what marvels me is that with all the information that's been out there now, I mean, people are still laying out in the sun, and they're just not afraid. I mean,
at smoke.
All ages.
Life, what are you gonna do? Listen, and you're speaking of someone, I love to lie in the sun, right?
Me too. I do.
I find it so relaxing. You put me on a lounge chair, I could spend all day there. But as I've gotten older, because you become more aware of these things, obviously, it's just as relaxing to have an umbrella, nearby, and like that, so we always have all these, umbrellas set up, because you're still like feeling, the sun, but it's not as like just beaming directly on you. So, there are obviously little things.
But you can still get sunburned under an umbrella.
Oh, totally. No, I mean, you should still be, but it definitely takes off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been this last year, I went to the Keys, Key West, and I was there, and I did not get any color. I was so vigilant, because I've had such horrible sunburns, where I just missed a certain area of my body, and that one area gets the sunburn, because I burn.
We've all been there. We've all been there. That's just like the.
You really, I feel like we've had this conversation before, but I always comes this one memory I have of my friend Jackie, who when we were teenagers, she would lay on tinfoil and she would like place it so like by the side of her arm so that the inside would get as tan as the. I mean, she would get so dark. It's like it was unbelievable. And I think about it, and I was like, sitting under the whatever kind of umbrella or shade thing they had, because I would just burn, like I was afraid to walk by her. It was like the rays 48 million miles away or not, that aluminum foil like cooks you. But
I've gotten like that with golf. I used to wear shorts all the time, and now I bought several very lightweight long pants.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. There's so
Because
many
my
products
legs
now.
have been damaged by the sun
Of
as
course.
well.
Look, I'll never forget, and we've all had bazillion stories, but I remember I was out in Montauk one summer with my brother. He had put sunscreen on, and you're out there all day long. And by the end of the day, he looked down and his feet were like swollen and fire red. And this is a little PSA, everyone. Do not forget to put it on your feet, because,
your toes.
Yeah, because I'm saying your feet, like, and I get it. I get the forgetting, because your feet, you're in the sand. You're not like thinking like, oh my God, but it was so painful for him. And they blew up and they were like fire engine red. And that was because he just forgot, that was the place that he forgot to put it on. And I think, and also I remember we had a segment on here, it's so important to put it on your ears and behind your ears, like these are like little places you're not really necessarily thinking, to do. I mean, but listen, if you have short hair or your hair is up, I mean, those ears are like fully exposed.
And wear a hat.
And your eyelids. Yeah, the hats, absolutely. I'm the queen of a sun hat, or like a baseball hat in the
Yeah, but a baseball hat for a man does not cover your ears.
True.
I am guilty of not wearing the right hat when I golf. You should have a flop hat.
Yeah.
But I don't. And my ears are exposed.
Well, you know what you can get, Otto, that I got my husband, actually? It's like a little thing on like elastic, and it looks like, it's a little sun protective kind of piece of fabric, right? So it's attached to this thing. So that thing, just the elastic goes right over a hat. So any hat. So if you have a baseball hat or you have so whatever it is, it's kind of universal, because I always yell at him for that, because he'll be wearing a baseball hat at work. And I'll say, you're not protecting your neck. And this thing, you could wet it. So when it's hot out, it can be cooler. And it's just so it just can go over whatever you're wearing. So he was very impressed.
Tent.
It is. No, but it really is. It creates like a little, so this way it protected his ears and his neck, because his neck, is constantly being beamed on, all day long. So it's just, it's these little things.
Well, I mean, if you watch people that do landscaping, a lot of gardening type companies and whatnot, there are a lot of Hispanic people that work in that industry, and most of them will wear long pants, long sleeves, and cover their head. So they're much smarter about it.
No, that's what Jay does, because when he works, he works at NASA BOCES, as I had mentioned, and that's his signature, like, outfit to go to work. But, I mean, when he was younger, he was always like wearing shorts and, sleeveless shirt. I mean, we do these reckless things because you're not realizing the damages of stuff.
Right.
But, I think that is the perk about this site app. You can find so many different products, whether, it is a certain sunscreen. And I love, because I've heard this before, that, in such a good golden nugget, to really get into that 30-50 range, because you see, I mean, I'm in a store and you should see my face like standing, because I'm trying to think like, oh my God, I have sensitive skin. Which product's going to work for me? Should I get 80, and like you say, these crazy, SPFs. But so I think like she gave us some really practical things. And I really love that she said, you do not need to, it doesn't have to be the most expensive product. Because I know, speaking from experience, I've been there, I'm like, this one's really expensive. Like, does that mean it's better? Like, should I get that one? These are the conversations I have amongst myself. But
you're smart to have those conversations, because I can't tell you in my head when I was younger how many times when someone said, you really shouldn't do that, when you get older. I'm like, you know what? And I would think to myself, I'll let older Rebecca worry about that. Right. Well, guess what? You get older, and now if I could have slapped me when I was in my 20s or teenage years, don't do that to us,
I know it's tough. It's all part of growing up, though. I think it's just
that,
why do you have to go through things sometimes to really
human
believe
nature
that it's true?
Listen, because I could say all I want, but then I'll do something and I'm like, why didn't I just, really just follow through on it? Life gets to you and you don't think it's hard.
Yeah.
But great segment. I really encourage people, if you missed it, to please check it out. It was
Yeah.
Dr. Shaw, and it was all about skin health. And actually, on top of that, it was just her amazing story. So we got like a
Beautiful
like
story.
a 2-for-1 deal interview, which
Yeah.
was.
And I love how she described her interest in dermatology kind of matched how she felt
Right.
in life.
Yeah.
People judge you based on, they don't know you, they don't know your story. That's why I like when we do that with the show.
No,
Otto.
and and it's just, and
Story.
just, because as I said, we're a family of skincare, skin issues. And my husband, like, listen, he had struggled with psoriasis. Luckily, that's been kind of calmed down. But now, he has got this alopecia thing that, can be related to, because he has this psoriasis kind of issues. So, I mean, and it makes you, he was struggled with it, and it was just so upsetting for him and for me, because of course. But so I think, like, that is so important to, speak to a dermatologist about this information.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, good time to take a break. You're listening to Project Independence in You Community Talk Radio. We're in our Talk of the Town segment. And when we come back, I think we'll actually talk about the town.
We will.
But it's just when we have a great guest like this, we tend to really talk a lot about the issues and the guests. So that's where we're at. We'll be right back. You're listening to 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be back shortly.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast, and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. And I'm here with the Project Independence in You team. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Kristina Liu, Otto Los, and Dan Cox. And we were talking our last segment just about the last guest, who was terrific, and all kinds of skin-related, inquisitive points. So,
and listen, it was a great thing to do. And we have Holly, if you're listening to this live, we have, our Memorial Day weekend coming up. A lot of people, the weather looks beautiful. You'll be spending a lot of time outside. So I hope people, take some of these little nuggets and tips and put it into practice this weekend. So
absolutely,
if you
absolutely.
Add a blood thinner to skin stuff. Now you got another whole bunch of stuff.
No, but I think that's such an important part, and especially, dealing with seniors, and that's what Dr. Shah had said, there's so many different medications out there, and you come with this list, and everything, has, and that's why it's so important to really be as organized as possible and to keep, track of these things, because any kind of doctor, when you have a fuller picture of the situation, they're able to really, first of all, just get to it quicker and understand, it's not this guessing game. They could like put the pieces of the puzzle together. So the more pieces you have, essentially, the better. So just try and keep that as organized as possible is just certainly important.
Now I got a different one for you altogether.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Today is my mother's 112th birthday.
Today's my brother's birthday. Today's my brother's 29th birthday.
Today?
Yes.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, well, that's really cool.
Obviously, she's not here, but it's
right.
But you know what I did just see on Facebook this morning? It was a picture of this adorable woman who was in front of her big birthday cake, and it's at 112.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah, that's super weird. That I literally just saw that this morning when I was like, putting a little thing for my brother up. So see, look, Otto, it's all the worlds collide. The stars have aligned.
Absolutely.
We had mentioned Memorial Day. If you were listening to this live, obviously, today is the 26th of May. And tomorrow, on May 27th, the Town of North Hempstead is having its annual Memorial Day commemoration and fireworks extravaganza. This is going to be at North Hempstead Beach Park. There's going to be some live music there. And it's really just a tribute to the men and women who have lost their lives serving our nation. There are some parking passes still available if you are listening to this live for veterans. That's a free parking pass. For anyone else, the parking fee is $10 per car, cash only. There's also a shuttle bus that will be available in the event, which it usually does. The parking lot gets full. There's some parking further down, but the shuttle bus will bring you over there. The gates open at 3 p.m. There's some food available for purchase. They do not accept drop-offs or walk-ins either. So it's just some little things just to keep it safe. But it's always a great event. When I was a kid, we used to go to this all the time when I lived in Greenvale. So it's a really nice kind of kickoff to summer, which I don't even know how we got here. I feel like it was just, I'm not sure where, like, Memorial Day came up. It's just everything is just kind of flying by rapidly.
And the fireworks are always great. I have to say, they do an incredible job. They always do a beautiful show.
Absolutely. So once again, that's Saturday, May 27th at 6:30 p.m., but the gates open at 3 p.m. If you're interested in that. Next week on our show, we're going to have on Mariel Hunenberg, who is from Metro Occupational and Physical Therapy, Metro PT, which it is, to do fall prevention and memory retention. Learn how dual task activities can help improve your memory and reduce your risk of falling at home or in the community. Which I thought was
interesting.
I thought it was a really, because we were discussing different topics, and I was like, we've done fall prevention before, but I like this specific kind of area. So that's next week. We also have some other shows we have coming up. We have a horticulturist coming on saying you're never too old to harvest the benefits of gardening. At my house, I just my husband, puts it in, and I enjoy, it brings me joy to look at them and to pick it out. But we just did our kind of summer planting at our house, which it's really just a very therapeutic thing. So I encourage people to get involved in doing that. We also have Project Help is an organization in Long Island, and they're going to do education and awareness on mental health and addiction. Project Help, the organization, is very involved with our substance abuse committee over at the Town of North Hempstead, so they will be on the show. And then we're going to have, of course, the latest tips on frauds and scams, including artificial intelligence, because Otto had said we need to have this topic on, so I found a speaker to do that. And once again, if you've ever missed any of our shows, they are all archived on our Project Independence website or on the YouTube page for WCWP, because as you see, it's such a variety of topics. So there's something for everyone.
Did you get the secret word yet for your families for artificial intelligence?
I did not. I'm going to write that down because I'll be with my family all weekend long.
I did.
Good for you.
And they all know it. There's like 22 people that
I'm writing it down, Otto.
Candidates.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down.
That's really interesting. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Otto?
Yeah, bring it up again.
We do have a family member who got stuck by this. And actually, without getting into details, a boyfriend of my granddaughter's family. All right. So anyhow, long story short, one of the members of his family or friends voice was cloned, which it can be easily done with a 3-second response to a phone call. If they get 3 seconds of your voice, they can now duplicate your voice.
Your tone.
So what happened in this particular scenario, somehow the bad guy or girl found out that this particular son was going to be in Tennessee. And they called the actual voice, called Grandma and said, Grandma, I'm in Tennessee, I'm in trouble, and I need $10,000 to pay a lawyer because of it. All right. And I don't know how they sent the 10,000 there, but they did. And it was all based on the voice being the actual cloning of the actual grandson and the knowledge that they knew that grandson was in Tennessee at the time. How they find that out, I have no idea. There could be travel plans or whatever that they see somewhere, or maybe on Facebook, who knows how. All right.
Right.
Point being, even if it sounds like your grandson, you should establish a secret family word that just confirms in that kind of situation, what is the word? pick a word, Pinocchio, is the family word. Well, if they don't know the Pinocchio word, then it's not your grandson, even though it sounds like your grandson and it's his voice.
Right.
And I think it's a critical thing.
And not just, I'm really glad that, we talked about this at length at our advisory committee came up, and it's coming up more and more now. And this is what's so beautiful about Project Independence programs, because I feel too, there's so many seniors that might not be up to date on the latest technologies or things that are going on, so I totally understand, like, this has even upped the ante of, a senior falling victim to a scam, because here you are, we've been preaching, all these things, but now you throw in this person now sounds exactly like my grandchild or my friend or whatever it might be, so it's so important to really just keep talking about this and raising awareness on this. I'm glad that I was able to get a speaker to bring it up and just to spread the word at all of our programs, because it is something that it's crazy. It seems even to me, it seems so futuristic that we're now at this place where, that could happen. And I've heard full songs, that sound exactly like the artist, that just based on it, you can create a whole new world of things. So it's really something.
Well, you said it sounds like the grandson's voice. It actually is the grandson's voice.
Right. But they're just changing, what, they're saying, obviously.
Right. They can use that voice to tell you that I'm in trouble down in Tennessee or anywhere, whatever they want to do.
I mean, look what just happened. Was it yesterday or the day before? There was some kind of AI type of video that showed, was it the Pentagon exploded or something, which actually brought the market down. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to really, it's out there. So, if things, if that would have happened, it would have been all over the news in 30 seconds. So if you're not seeing that, and they're saying, you have to really be wary of these reports. I don't know how we have to have ways of authenticating the real thing versus like, how do you differentiate? There's. I know that's what we have. I feel like before AI comes, like they have to actually come up with ways to make sure we can authenticate the real thing. But
no, but I just think the idea that Otto came up with about having that word is something that, listen, hey, it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
And it's something that can easily be done. And, having that, as the, safe word that it is just such a wonderful idea. And it's just, it's certainly, I think everyone should put that into practice.
Yeah.
And I wrote that down because I'm definitely
idea.
going to, certainly do that as well.
You have to learn all these little tricks and
you just got to, and it's about keeping yourself safe, and aware. Right. And we always say we don't want people walking around in complete and utter terror, of the world. But I think, doing these little things is being proactive. And that's what we always say on this show, right? Is everything that we're trying to, is to get ahead of the game, and just have everyone prepared in all aspects of their life.
Right. And, they do tend to, as we know, scammers, and now obviously AI, they prey on the older population because of, where the older population is less likely to ask questions or be problematic. But I think I had gave you an example too. My stepmother in Florida had a call. Someone came in and said, we have your grandson and he needs some money and whatever it was. And she's like, oh, who do you have? And she gave 2 fake names and they picked one of them. And she's like, okay, she hangs up,
But that's smart.
Right. So, but those are the things that you have to kind of do.
You have to like almost scam the scammer.
Right, exactly. Right. Do you ever see that on TikTok, the guys who scam scammers?
No, but I love that.
Oh, they're so funny. And they're able to find out where the calls are coming in from, and they call that number, or they are able to figure out who the person is, and they start calling them by name, and it's like, oh my God, it's just like, it's like almost too hard to even watch.
But bottom line is just to do those.
Easy one is, please give me your name and your phone number, and I'll call you back.
Absolutely. That's like, that's what we've been saying forever, especially when someone's posing as a company, they'll say, oh, I'm from PSEG, I'm from Social Security, whatever it might be. that is always kind of the rule of thumb we say, because listen, at the end of the day, a person who's not trying to scam you, like, will be okay, they just call me back then, so it's really just, and those are like little things that you can do that as I mentioned don't cost you some crazy amount of money to do. So
Yeah.
definitely just be safe, right, and be aware. Prior segment, I had mentioned about the sunscreens that are going to be at all the different parks in North Hempstead. But I really love these Wellness Wednesdays because on top of the free skin cancer screenings that we're doing with Northwell, on July 19th, there's going to be Saving Lives training, learn CPR, stop the bleed, and more. And that's going to be at the Whitney Pond Park pool deck at 12 p.m. On July 26th, there's healthy eating for the family. That's going to be at the Yes We Can Community Center at 11 a.m. On August 2nd, there's meditation on the beach, and that's at North Hempstead Beach Park at 10 a.m. August 9th is another skin cancer screening at Manor Haven Beach Park. And August 16th is every stage of life cancer screenings, an informational session. And that's going to be at Clingy Martin Park at 11 a.m. So I think it's so great that the town is partnering with Northwell to offer all these great topics. So if you have any questions about that, you can either check out the website or call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get more information on any of those.
Kristina, you said something that triggered my brain here.
Yes.
Healthy eating, all right? I think most people know what healthy eating is. How do you discipline yourself to do the healthy eating? How do you not have
I don't know. I'm also a firm believer, and I've been at enough seminars and healthy eating, nutritional kind of things, that it's even just like incorporating the smallest changes. And listen, I know, I like to pride myself. I know what healthy eating is. If I do it, is the question. But I was facilitating, helping this nurses at one of our heart healthy programs, and that was all about nutrition, and it was about heart healthy things, and but there was a lot of stuff on there that you didn't realize, and not everything is so drastic. You can make these like little changes or tips and tricks that can go a long way. Like, as we all know, like, go the whole grain route, as opposed to, it's not saying you can never eat pasta again, but try that. Try the chickpea pastas of the world. So there's these different little things that you can do. And listen, the bottom line is not everyone is, as you mentioned, Otto, is going to have that discipline, and that's their choice, right? We're humans, we can choose whatever we want. But I like that this is healthy eating for the family, because I think that that's a very important thing. I know obviously for myself, if I was only feeding myself all day long, life would be a lot easier because I could just pick, and say, okay, I'm just going to do this for myself. But when you involve a family, it's hard enough to plan for my husband and I, let alone if we have, when I get my parents involved or there's kids involved, then you're like, and especially little kids who are possibly the pickiest eaters in the world, that's like, you're really trying to find something that is still healthy out there. So I think that's I think it's be a really great chat that they're doing at Yes We Can. So
we should have another show. They're on losing weight and not just to fit into clothes, but for health. Like, there's so many people, I know I'm one of them, I'm up and down, 15 pounds at any given time, and it's just, and I know what to eat. I eat very healthy.
Of course.
Because you eat healthy doesn't mean you're not going to gain weight. I have a friend who's a vegan, and there's not a lot of choices when we go to a restaurant. It's always pasta. It's always, it's bread. It's so it's complicated. But I think we should that kind of fitness, weight loss, and as we get older, it's so much
and that's what I think is so, and you never really realize until you're there, it's like, because I mean, for myself, right? It's like, I've been like doing this for years, and okay, so I'm going to splurge on that snack, and then, like, it'll be gone. And, I mean, I think about how we ate in high school, and Lord, help that girl, but as you get old, it is difficult. So the same thing that you might have been doing for a bazillion years, is certainly has way more of an effect, or is harder to lose that, 5 pounds that you just took for granted. So there are these different things, and I think, for health, Beck, like that's, the important thing, because obviously we think a lot about it cosmetically a lot of times.
Right, right. And if you think about what 5 pounds, if you ever pick up a weight,
Yeah,
and can you
that's right.
imagine,
Yeah.
that's what you need to lose. But
That's
we
right.
actually have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town. We're on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org, and we'll be right back for our last segment.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
And welcome back to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We're now in our Talk of the Town segment, and I think it's our last segment, another quick
It
show.
is, my gosh.
How
It
did
is our last
how,
segment. Well, there is a lot to go over. I just want to touch upon, because, in doing research for the show, I always get so many articles and stuff, and I want people to be aware that obviously, as we're approaching summer months, free air conditions are available to low-income, vulnerable New Yorkers. The eligible households must include someone with a documented medical condition, which is exacerbated by extreme heat, or someone under 6, or someone over the age of 60. To qualify for the federally funded program, applicants must also meet the Home Energy Assistance Program, which is the HEAP program, eligibility guidelines, and income criteria. It varies, obviously, based upon your household size. The household of 4, just for example, can earn up to $65,829 per year and qualify for assistance. Officials expect up to 18,500 households would qualify for this program. Applications can be accepted. It started May 1st, and they'll continue till August 31st or until the funding runs out. So it's really important to, if you think you might qualify for this, I mean, we've certainly gotten so many phone calls from people, during the crazy heat waves we've had, when it's just so extremely hot and they don't know what to do and they can't afford, so but if you're interested in the program, please call 311. You'll be connected to one of our social workers, and they could help get you connected to this program, because I just think it's really great. That was just, Becky, say something?
I just wanted to make one kind of quick announcement, just because we've been making phone calls here at the office. Next week, there are no Project Independence exercise classes. So if you're listening live, and it's going to be, so it's Memorial Day week, so Memorial Day is Monday, and the rest of the week, there are no fitness classes. We will resume all Project Independence fitness classes as scheduled starting Monday, June 5th. So June 2nd, so it's Memorial Day through June 2nd, there are no fitness classes.
Got it. Check it off the list. All right. That's important information. We have a bunch of programs that are coming out. I want to let people aware that this will all be in our email newsletter that should be hitting people's emails in the upcoming days. And if you have access to an email and want to get this newsletter, there's such wonderful information, not just on Project Independence, but all town kind of programs that are going on. So you just call 311, say you want to be added to the email newsletter distribution list, and I will be happy to have you added on there, because it's really it's such a great way for us to get information out, and I think now there's almost like 5,000 people on the email list, which is just incredible, because I remember when we started it and I was trying to build up the email newsletter list, and it was like just a handful. So it's really great that we have all these different people on it. So that is that. We have coming up a bunch of different groups. Obviously, we have our current support groups and social groups still meeting, like our social discussion group still meets, our men's group, our Golden Hearts bingo and blood pressure group, but in addition to that, we have a group that's coming out called Healing After Loss Support Group. It's going to be on Thursday, June 1st. It's facilitated by Gina, who is one of our social workers, and it's really about grief and the stages of grief, obviously. And it's just to really be in that support. And it's based upon people that she's kind of talked to that have been going through this, certainly I think we all can relate that life has been, certainly filled with a lot of grief over the last couple of years. So it's really important to have this kind of group. So that's going
And
to
it's
meet.
healing, right?
Yep, it's all about healing through it.
all
And,
about
and how do
healing.
you? Absolutely. And it's just, I think it's important to learn like the stages of grief, when you look, because, and to also know that it's not like, okay, check it off the box. I went through that stage. Now I could just hop over to the next stage. It's really like
Right.
you can bounce around. And I think that that's what's important about these support groups that we have. That's going to be at Magnolia Gardens. Once again, that kicks off on Thursday, June 1st at 11:30 a.m. So certainly check that out if
Yeah.
you do fall into that category.
Good one.
And then we have another journaling program that is now going to meet at the Port Washington Library. That also starts on June 1st. It's a 6-session journaling group. You get this wonderful journal that you write directly in, and it gives you prompts. And each week there's different things to follow and to discuss. And I love groups like this because it's about capturing your story, but you're also sharing your story, and just to have that kind of socialization with the rest of the group, I think is really wonderful thing to do. So once again, that's at the Port Washington Public Library starting June 1st at 1 p.m. So please certainly sign up for that. As I mentioned, we still have our other groups. Our men's group, we have our Coping with Loss support group is with Krista. That meets at the Hillside Public Library in New Hyde Park at 11 a.m. So that's Wednesdays. We have our cardiac screening van is making 2 stops this month. One is at Manhasset Valley Residence, and that's June 8th. And the other one is June 14th at Magnolia Gardens. This is through our partnership with St. Francis Hospital and Heart Center. And
what's so amazing, Kristina? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everything you're talking about is all Project Independence, either
Yes.
fully facilitated
Right.
or in partnership with St. Francis or something like that. But these are all Project Independence, Department of Services for the Aging, Town of North
Yes,
Hempstead.
our little tiny team.
And I mean, you're just going through, and usually you talk a lot more about other things that are going on in the town. Or even outside.
But this, was funny, Gisa, because when I was putting stuff together for our June newsletter, and and I have to give a shout out to our social workers and nurses who all are coming up with, they're listening to their constituents and trying to come up with new groups of interest and whatnot, and just different programming. And it was just like an influx this month, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, so it's really just such wonderful things. And as I mentioned, we're just a tiny little team. So it's just all the work that gets done is just, it blows your mind to actually see it, like.
Right. I'm exhausted just listening to it.
So definitely check all these things out. We have our advisory committee meeting. Next one is on June 14th, and that is going to be at 10 a.m. And the speaker we have is actually from the Long Island Alzheimer's and Dementia Center, and she's going to be healthy living for your brain and body. She's going to do, which is always my favorite kind of spin on these things, because I love, as we mentioned, like, these kind of proactive things that you can do to help your brain health and whatnot. So that's June 14th at Clinton G. Martin Park. But there's also a Zoom option. So if you want to Zoom in and participate in the advisory meeting, you can do that as well. You just have to call 311 or 516-869-6311 to sign up for that. So,
and that's going to be the last advisory for the summer, and then we start up again in September.
Absolutely. So that is, and it's just, it's just, the advisories are, there's something new that always comes out of them. And I think, we've been doing a lot of talk about like just how important our advisory members are to be our kind of ambassadors in the community. After all this time that we've been around, still the best way to reach people, obviously we have all these great newsletters but to really get someone to buy into the program, because a lot of times, listen, I get it. It sounds too good to be true. Project Independence is like, wait, what? You do all this and it's free? And it's like, it's like you always think there's some kind of crazy catch. And I think that's what's so important about our advisory members who, get all the information from us and then bring it out to whether it's their friend or their neighbor or their senior group, whatever it might be. That's the best way. And Otto is certainly one of our premier ambassadors.
You've been getting a good turnout, I think, at
right?
Full house, I would say.
It's great. And that, what I think is so amazing is that I saw last meeting, there was a lot of new faces, and I want people to always be aware that, even though we've been meeting for a very long time, it's never too late to sign up, and to really just get a great glimpse. You could talk as much as you want. You don't have to talk, and what I think is wonderful is on top of, the turnout we've been getting in person, there's still a lot of people who are coming on via Zoom.
How many do you get roughly?
So
on Zoom?
there's been I think last time there was like 15 to 20 people on
Really?
Zoom. Yeah.
They come on and leave, and which is nice.
But it's really, I think, that's something that is just a nice addition to have. Obviously, it's difficult, there's a bit of delay and stuff, but I think we're doing pretty good.
And they also call in, so that makes it.
That's right. There's a whole, but what I think is great is that that's a lot of people, like, listen, they're older, and it started as a COVID thing, but now it's more of like, it's hard for them to get out, or they're busy, they have a lot in their day, so it's easy sometimes to get on through being home or whatnot. And but it's a great thing. Please, I encourage people to come and check it out. There's a lot of great information shared, and Otto could certainly speak on that, because
the technology of being able to speak loud enough so the people who are there hear it, and also the people on the Zoom. Sounds like it's complicated.
Yeah, it is. But I think like we really did, and as I had mentioned earlier, these Heart Smart programs that our Northwell health nurses are doing a hybrid kind of concept. And it's, they're working out the kinks, and, and to make sure like the speaker can hear the people there, so everyone has to be, patient. Everyone's doing their best. And I think that it is gradually we're getting, nailing it down more with the different types of microphones and whatnot. So if you're interested, call 311 or 516-869-6311.
One of the things you had said, Kristina, I just wanted to say is people say, when you were going through everything that we do, all the services, the programs, the connections, the meetings, the advisories, the support groups, and how people like, is this all free? Is this all free? I can't believe it. I don't believe it. Fitness classes, all free food shopping, just kind of all these things. I remember very early on, in fact, Otto, one of, in our first few advisory meetings, we had somebody come, who will remain nameless, and turned out to be one of our biggest fans. She was so skeptical. She's like, oh, I'm just waiting. I know this isn't going to last. So, she would come every meeting with like, just like, and that would be what she would say at the end of every meeting. Well, do you know that she had become one of our, I want to say, biggest users? She came to every event, and she became very ill in the end, and wouldn't even miss a virtual.
Yeah.
And it just, it's just that's a story.
It is, and that's happened a lot of times. That was just one example, but that's something that we always and listen, we've been around for a year, so obviously there's more awareness. But I remember, just when it started, the idea that this was, you're a government program, like, and this is like, everyone thought it was like a crazy setup or something, that there was some kind of ulterior motive. And it's just really amazing when you do have that breakthrough with someone, when they get it, like, oh my gosh, you guys are actually here to help me stay in my home, and in the community, and engaged on all these different areas. So it's pretty special.
Yeah.
You said something that I got to clear up in my mind, that you are called the Department of Services for the Aged.
Yes.
And is that part of community?
No, two totally separate departments.
Okay.
Yes.
With two different sole purposes.
Yeah,
at one point, wasn't it part of?
That was many, many years ago, before, when Project Independence was just, in its beginning.
Right. Yeah. So there's a whole timeline of what happened. Madge Kaplan was the commissioner of community services, and then when Project Independence, they started the NORC, and then she passed away, and then it just got very big. So they created a new department in the town, Department of Services for the Aging, and that's primary programs, Project Independence, but it's one of the same.
It's the same thing, right?
Structurally, does it report to the Community Services Department?
Well, Kim is the commissioner over both departments.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but that has, and one has nothing to do. They're
right. They're independent.
Yeah, right. It just happens to have the same commissioner.
Right.
Right.
Is the development of it.
Okay.
But speaking of that, Beck, community service and DOSA are hand in hand in this Fun Day Monday kind of programming, which I know you've been super involved in the entertainment.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
the hostess with the mostest over here with some great entertainment. It kicks off on July 10th with Stan and Edie. And what kind of music is Stan and Edie?
They're kind of like, you're too young because if you knew Steve and Edie, you wouldn't have asked that question. But they're kind of like a duo crooner kind of thing.
Okay.
They have a little shtick and they sing all the songs of that kind of like 50s genre.
Oh, fun. And then the July 17th is Vincent Rhodes, which is, I think they were gone for a few years, right? And this is their return to Fun Day Monday?
So Vincent he plays the keyboards. He's like
he's been in a lot of programs.
Yeah, we couldn't get a date. So he comes all the time, but yeah.
Great. And then July 24th, of course, is the Fabulous Health Fair, which is always incredible. And then EJ the DJ. July 31st, which is a personal favorite over here, we have the Beat-Alikes, which is a Beatles tribute band.
Yes.
Which sounds so fun. August 7th is Dance Aloha and an Elvis tribute, a double kind of whammy there.
Everybody knows Steve. He comes every year. He does his Elvis thing.
Impressive.
Dance Aloha was a party last year. I mean, it was just great. They were great.
And August 14th, which this sounds so great, is the Rat Pack tribute, which is Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Jerry Lewis.
Yep.
Which that just sounds incredibly amazing.
It's going to be really fun.
August 21st is the last one, and that's Hometown USA, which is a salute to the troops. There's a vintage car show. There's the Quatrain Quartet and Bud and Linda. So there is just a jam-packed schedule. I'm looking at it right in front of me. And on top of all that, there's pickleball, there's line dancing, there's Tai Chi. And you can get transportation from certain stops. There's bus pickup stops. Call 311 for that. And of course, if it rains on Monday, the rain date is Thursday.
That's right.
And this all starts. And I want to remind people that the Fun Day Monday kind of entertainment pieces are at 11 a.m., but all the exercise stuff kicks off prior.
At 9 a.m. You can show up early. 9 a.m. is the first line dancing class. 10 a.m. is the second. But just one thing about a rain date, it's not just rain. So if it is extremely hot, 88 or 89 or hotter, they will postpone it as well. So
that's a great piece because that happened. I can't remember. I think it was last year.
A couple of years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. That it
Has
happened.
the Rat Pack group been there before?
No. So this is new. So Frank Gange is the Frank Sinatra guy, and the other guy, I think it's Lawrence Lombardi, he does Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. So they're going to do separate stuff, but they may do something together. So they'll go in and out of characters and tell stories and things like that.
That just sounds like such a fun time.
This together before? No. We've never had these guys. One of them was we booked Charles Gange. Actually, we did book him last year, but it was the rain date. So yeah, one of the weeks we didn't have.
So fun. I really
that was in my era, the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't love the Rat Pack? I mean, I think
I was looking for a Sammy, but couldn't find one.
Yeah. You know what? Who knows? Maybe next year you'll fully complete the Rat Pack.
Do the whole thing.
He was a super talented guy, Sammy Davis.
Oh, he was wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But definitely check out Fun Day Monday. It's such a great, and the beach is just so lovely, and it's just such a staple to North Hempstead summers for seniors. What I also thought was great that came up in Newsday a couple of days ago, there's in East Meadow at Eisenhower Park, there's now a park that opened up for dementia patients, caretakers. It offers fresh air and education, which I thought was so nice. And it looks beautiful. I don't know if anyone saw the Newsday article that's listening, but there's a beautiful gazebo and benches. The gazebo at the new Respite Care Relief Park at Eisenhower Park has placards with information for those with Alzheimer's and their caregivers. And it's just a great opportunity for them to get out. I feel so often so many things that are so clinical, and hospitalized looking. And the fact that, we all have seen the benefits of outdoor stuff. So just check that out if you are certainly in that situation, or if you just want to check out Eisenhower Park too.
Well, I can't believe it's the end of the show. And I'm just going to do a little personal. My son graduated Crane School of Music last weekend. Bachelor's degrees, class of guitarist. His degree is in music business and music performance.
Oh,
so great job,
And happy
Lou.
birthday to my brother.
And happy birthday, James. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to Otto's mom and everybody else out there celebrating. We will be back next week. We have a great show, interesting guest. Everybody have a great and safe long weekend. We're Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. And we'll see and speak to everybody next week. Great show all.